Hi, this is StrategyCast, where smart marketers and bold business thinkers share the plays behind brand breakthroughs. I'm Lori Jones, President and CEO of Avocet Communications. If AI feels like it's blowing up everything you thought you knew about marketing, today's episode is going to bring some much-needed clarity. We're unpacking what actually changes in an AI-powered world and what absolutely does not. You'll learn why strategy isn't the problem, why rushing into AI often makes things worse, and how to rethink assumption processes and priorities so AI actually drives results instead of chaos. My guest today is Jessica Kao, a marketing operations and technology leader who's spent years at the center of large-scale transformation. She's been doing AI before AI was cool, and she has a rare ability to connect business outcomes, strategy, and deeply technical execution in a way that actually makes sense.
A competitive edge starts with strategy, and strategy starts with knowing how to develop one. StrategyCast is a leading marketing podcast that serves up strategic insights, trends, and tips to help separate your business from the pack. Tune in weekly as host Lori Jones interviews bold marketing leaders who have priceless wisdom and are willing to share. Each episode explores cutting-edge approaches that have proven instrumental in transforming brands into industry trailblazers.
Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here because this is a topic that is on everyone's mind, and everyone is being pressured to do AI, what that means. So I'm so excited to be able to dissect that with you today. It's going to be so much fun.
Well, it is going to be so much fun. Tell us, before we get there, a little bit about your journey and really how AI has changed what you do today versus what you did 15 years ago.
Oh my gosh, like a little bit about my journey. I mean, I've been doing marketing operations, marketing technology, and basically enabling technology to power marketing and make it rain pipeline. So, AI it's not just another piece of technology, but it is technology that is pervasive and more so touches every aspect of a marketer's life. And I think it's I'm really excited to be talking about today about like what stays the same and what's new, because I think, as new technology, you've been around the block, I've been around the block. As new technologies come online, there's always this like shiny object thing, and then we get enamored, and then we're like, ooh, squirrel, shiny thing. And like, we got to sometimes go back to our roots and foundation to really make sure we know, because there are things that are just tried and true.
Yep.
The title of your podcast is Strategy. It's like my mentor used to always say, look, we're going to do some strategy today. And it's like back to basics, back to the foundation. And I think what, you talk a lot about like blowing up. We're doing good. We're going to do a lot of blowing up of things today, because you do have to blow up the way that your mind changes, but you got to know what stays the same. It's like, what's the saying? It's like, what's old is new.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. I love that. And I think one of the biggest pain points right now is that AI is really, from an execution standpoint, breaking down strategy, systems, and people. What was happening right now is that there's so many new shiny objects out there that people are trying, that execution is all over the place. And we're really, really, really going to work to change that for all of you today. And let's start out with this. The big myth is out there: AI changes strategy. It's such an important discussion point. You've said something that really stuck with me in our pre-show discussion. AI doesn't change strategy, it changes execution. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, right, like AI really enables us to really work differently, think differently. If you think about what we do every day, right? Like from a marketing perspective, a lot of the things that we do and the ways that we do things and the way that we execute in our campaign strategy and our marketing strategy is really driven by assumptions that have been the same over the past like 20, 30, 40 years.
Okay.
But AI changes what we can do. And so the assumptions of how we do things, how we put a campaign to market, how we can reach our customers, how we can personalize, that is what it fundamentally changes, right? Because we wouldn't do X because, oh, that's too time consuming, the investment, the resources, but AI changes that part. But the
Yeah.
underlying strategy, right? It
Still the
changes,
same.
right? It changes the tactical. There's
Yeah.
strategic, tactical, and then there's like the strategy underneath. The strategy underneath doesn't change. So what happens is what I'm seeing a lot of in the field is that, oh, we're so like focused on, we're changing the execution. We have to like do AI. So we just kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and we have to do AI. But it's basically putting AI on top of people processes that were based on a world of a pre-AI framework.
Right.
Right. And so when you put AI, you're just operating and amplifying, things that weren't optimal,
Yeah.
but they were what we could do. Or
Yeah.
say, yes, we know it's not optimal, but we don't have the time. We got to keep going. We're still making our number. Sometimes we make our number, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we got to do efficiency, but we're really only turning the dials, the knobs and the dials a little bit. AI allows us to really change it. So it's it's something that stuck with me at a couple of jobs ago from my mentor, which was you have to slow down to go fast. You
Yeah.
just take a step back and like look at what are the assumptions that we had based on a pre-AI world. What changes? What can we reinvent from a assumption process and then put AI on top of that? The foundation, the cement of your house is still the same. You still
Yeah.
pour a cement foundation. It still has to be level. It has to be solid. It has to like not have cracks. That stays the same. The house that you build, there's new technology that you can build the house on top, but the foundation is still the same.
Why do you think, the fundamental issue is that strategy is getting pushed aside? CMOs out there, highly qualified individuals, are using AI as the strategy. Why is the temptation so great?
I think there's two reasons, right? I think there's the hype, what's out there, right? I mean, especially in this day and age where we have access to what people are doing. And so I mean, I can tell you what I'm inundated with. I mean, I'm addicted to LinkedIn and what's being out there. It's like, oh, look what I built overnight. Look, I don't need to have coding. Everybody, can make an app. Everybody can do this. It really reminds me of, I mean, I don't know about you, but probably a decade ago before I had kids, I had time to watch like HGTV, right? All the shows that kind of showed like, look, we can remodel a house in 48 hours. Look, we can do this, we can do that. But if you looked at it, like, what was it put together with?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, remember, it kind of inspired, like how many people were inspired to be like, oh, I'm just going to DIY it. I'm going to like just remodel the bathroom myself because I can look at YouTube videos and I can do that. Not that I would ever do that. I wouldn't do that. Right? I don't know how to do that.
Either. Never, never, never.
Right? Never, ever.
Unless it's StrategyCast.
Right? But it's kind of like that where every day we're kind of inundated with this. Look what I can do. Look what I built. I built a website in an hour. I don't know how to code, right? All of these things. And I think those are great for, if you're building a website I'm not saying that, AI doesn't help accelerate it, but like, there has to be a little bit more thought that goes into it before. I mean, AI, yes, it is game changing, but it's like, what it reminds me of? I mean, I have kids, so like, The Incredibles and like, Jack, the little baby with the superpowers. Right. And he like cannot control his superpowers and he tries with his laser eyes with the raccoon is like
all of that.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. And you're Elastigirl trying to catch it all. No, it's so interesting because I think, I was just talking about this, junk in, junk out. So if we are not maintaining strategy and utilizing it, AI as a tool, as a strategic tool that ramps back to that, I mean, it's no different than, you wouldn't put the right go-to-market or enablement strategy into your email system or your CRM system or anything like that. So this temptation to, I think, take shortcuts because we're all so overwhelmed to get more done is really where a lot of the breakdown is happening with strategy and our marketing, pull through.
Yeah, and I think, and it's not like, oh, that means like, oh, we can't, change or transform and it's going to take us, 18 months. No, I mean, we can move,
Yeah, at lightning speed, we
we
can.
can move lightning. And I think it's having the right conversations,
Yeah,
right? It's like, are we going to, oh, what's the next AI tool that we're going to buy? Instead, it's what am I trying to accomplish? And am I thinking about it, you know, I can move fast, but am I taking into consideration what I need to be doing
yeah,
3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, and how fast it's changing? Because you think about tools and AI tools, right? Like it's kind of, before where the evolution of tools, like, okay, we'll just buy every, it's all, like a kind of a myopic view. It's like, we're going to buy a tool that does A and well, we need to do this. So we're going to buy a hammer over here and a screwdriver over here. But, and being in MOPS and in marketing technology, we've been dealing with this, about
for a long time.
right? About data, about, right? Like, well, data silos and governance and efficiency and operations. It's like, oh, we've been saying this for the past 20 years. And finally, like, this is at a level of a conversation of the C-suite. And so I'm obviously a big proponent of like, MOPS and MarTech individuals having the expertise because we've been there, we've done that, from a technology perspective. But, you go buy 20 AI different tools. Guess what? You've just exponentially created 20 more silos.
Well, you have, and what's happening then is we're creating bad process and
Right.
amplify. I mean, AI is just going to amplify that bad practice,
Faster.
that bad process faster. So what does that look like in process? How are you slowing teams down to say, no, 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 no?
I think, right, like I'm a big proponent of like tops down and bottoms up, like because it has to be like right, it's a strategy. It's strategy, not just that like tools are necessary, but not sufficient. And it's
Yeah,
really around, right, like, I mean, right, it's people, processes, and technology and change management and right, like people, processes, technology, and change management. There's 4 legs to the stool now, right? Instead
right.
of people, processes, technology, change management, learning and enablement is 1,000% permanently part of the legs of
Yeah,
right?
right.
Can't have that without that. And I think it's really around, right? Like in order when we talk about AI, right? If you look at kind of the, first we had like Gen AI, and then I can't remember first we had AI, and then we had Gen AI, and then and then we have agents, right? Like we haven't even like gotten through the what are we doing with agents?
It's another tool we can deploy too. Yeah,
Right? It's like, well, what's
yeah,
an agent?
yeah,
But like where we are is agentic interoperability,
yeah.
right? Because there's no one that says, oh, there's not one AI like tool. You can't, have one to rule them all. It's this idea, and it's kind of like a little, like the future. I don't know, but you watch a lot of I
Yeah,
like a lot of sci-fi movies, right? But like, this idea of, we're gonna have like AI workers and we're gonna have people workers. But think about it. What is still the same? What
yeah.
an AI worker or they're a people worker? They need to have knowledge. They need to have very specific skill sets.
Mm,
They need to have context.
right.
You wouldn't hire one general contractor to do every single thing,
Hmm.
right? So there's this, think about it, there's a myth like, oh, I'll just have like any agent or any LLM do, everything from image generation to copywriting to, research, right? I'm like, you wouldn't do that to a person.
No, you wouldn't. Do you have a magic number for the number of tech tools that brands should be utilizing with number one out, and knowing that the agents can be utilized as well to integrate with them? I see tech stacks that are 50 technologies deep. And, there's, how much is too much?
Okay, I'm gonna hot take. How about that? hot take, it's not about the number because you can have one tool, you can have 100 tools. A person with 100 tools can have a strategy and be great. A person can have 100 tools and have no strategy and be terrible, right?
Right.
So there is, like, to me, right, it's not about the number of tools, but it's about the strategy. Of course, right? Like, right, then how you define tools, right? We can get into a
Yeah.
philosophical debate about how you define tools, but it's really around, right? There's two things for me, which is, and I'll touch on, right, the AI and agents more than ever are breaking down the silos of organizations,
Yes.
right? It's bringing horizontal workflows together. Because if you think about it, we ship our org, like everyone in marketing, we ship our org, like, right?
Yeah.
You own this business unit. What are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about your product. This other colleague of yours that owns a different business unit, they're going to want to talk about their product. We ship our orgs. AI breaks down the silos of the people and the teams.
Mhm.
So then
When implemented correctly.
when implemented
Yeah.
correctly, for sure. But then what does that mean? That means you need to have access to the data. Now, integrations, when I say integrations, I'm talking more than just, hey, does something have an API connection? Like
Yeah.
integrations, I'm thinking holistically, meaning can it see the data in another system? And here's the thing, right? Because I've been in the dirt, in the weeds, in the plumbing of the data, right, in systems. When you hear about integrations, like, oh yeah, tool A integrates with tool B, I'm like, it's not that simple. When you're the plumber who's crawling in the pipes to make everything work, right? Different tools might speak different languages. Different tools might be passing, like, you're passing like data, but if your pipe is this big, or if one tool speaks like round balls and another tool speaks like triangular balls, like that's not the same. Or like, oh, I'm passing data, but I can only pass this limited piece of data, not that you would want to pass the raw data. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have, those are the things where it sounds very tactical, but it's actually not. That actually has to do with the data strategy that's
Exactly.
behind all of it, right? And so if agents are all on different platforms, do you know what a nightmare it is for the plumber to try to connect
Yeah.
and make 50, think about 50 different, think about like 10 different AI agents are speaking 10 different languages, even though they can pass data together, right?
Yeah.
It's like if someone speaks German and someone speaks French and they're on the phone together or on a Zoom call, they're passing data, but do you think anyone's understanding what is happening? Right?
Yeah. And I think the tendency there is to look at that activity as progress.
Right. And
And
you've just created a whole spaghetti ball mess.
exactly. Exactly. And so what advice do you have for our listeners that may not be able to decipher the difference between activity and truly what that process or that progress is?
Right. And that has, to me, that has to do with what the type of work that I'm doing right now is to really put out, the thought leadership around organizational and operating models and the skill sets and how we need to change. What are the net new, skill sets, teams, headcount, ways of working, right? And I know, right, like not everyone can be like, oh, I have 10 magical headcounts that I can write. Like, I get it. I get it. But like the first thing is whether you have a person that you can repurpose or the skill. And I'm going to tell you, those people in your marketing technology, marketing ops people, they generally have that skill set. And if they don't, you really need it, which is I always run technology like a product. Like which is I run them like, I look at my tech stack as a living, breathing entity. And I'm trying to launch capabilities to my internal stakeholders, which is my marketing and more marketing, sales, revenue, go-to-market organization. And especially with AI, I actually teach a course on this too, that I did at a conference, which was really around, you have to start what you're trying to do and why. And that starts with use cases. So let's start with something really simple, really basic that I mean, it's kind of low hanging fruit. And I really want to encourage people to think beyond, like, for example, content generation with AI, but it's not that simple, right? Because like everyone thinks of content generation, I'm sure, right? All your clients think about content generation, but
Low-hanging fruit.
right, low hanging fruit, but like it's more complex than that, right? Because what happens is here's how you don't want to happen. Everyone has needs, right? The demand gen people need to write emails, the content people need to write white papers, the paid media folks need to generate imagery plus, ad copy. And we're like, great, we'll just find an AI thing to help us with that. But from a technology and from an outcomes perspective, one, all of those different groups have slightly different outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Slightly different OKRs. if you think about it from a strategic, like a technical perspective, if I like look at it as a product manager, right, of my domain, right? Generating an image is very different than generating derivative image, which is
Yeah.
very different than like making sure that we are brand compliant, which is very different than writing email copy to different personas, which is very different than writing long form copy. And what's the input? Is the input like a raw, this is our play, this is our positioning, this is the positioning and messaging that we usually get from product marketing? Or is it, hey, I have outputted a version and I need you to version it. I need you to translate it into different languages. Every single one of those variations is a different skill set.
Yeah.
Why on earth would you use the same tool for it? You
Yep.
wouldn't. But like this is part of the new, right? There's the new part of it, which is, hey, we hadn't had think about this like this. Because we're just like,
Wow.
oh, we just throw an AI at it and it would solve all of it. And it's not. Like even generating images, there are different models that are different skill sets that can do different things. Imagery is not the same.
Well, I think what you're talking about is slowing down to go fast too, and
Exactly.
making sure that everything is in place to make that happen. Do you have an example that in one of the incredible brands that you've worked with, because you are, with some doozies, some incredible companies in the world, quite frankly. Do you have example of a situation where the plumbing was getting, there were some screws missing and, you really, really needed to firm things up in order to get the entire program to flow a little bit better?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like my specialty is really around global digital transformations with marketing technology. And so like both from being sitting in the seat of like being at a brand and then now being at Adobe and helping so many brands achieve that, there there is, it is literally the thing that everyone's trying to do. If you think about it right now, if you weren't in a transformation, everyone's trying to do a transformation. And a lot of times people are doing, even before AI, people are trying to transform, to how they're engaging. And it really, I think the ones that are successful start with the holistic picture.
Yeah.
Two, it starts with a data platform where everything runs through, because it is, if you're trying to do the other way around, which is, hey, let me just like random, like, hodgepodge, try to buy pieces together and then try to stitch it together, right? It's like going and buying like 10 different pipes that, are
Yeah.
like,
Well,
right?
they're looking at the tool. They're looking at tools instead of outcomes. I mean, they've got everything backwards that way.
Exactly. And it always starts with outcomes, but
Yeah.
where I see kind of it's like where the misses versus like where the best practice is really translating, the outcomes, right, from the CMO and the C-suite, those outcomes to, translating those outcomes. The gap is really around in this, like this middle layer, the hamburger, like the meat of
Yeah.
it, which is there's a strategic element to it that
Yeah.
in the technology,
Yeah.
where that's where it's like, oh, we want to do this, we want to transform, we want to incorporate AI, we need to drive, 30% year over year growth. Here's the tool, you have people go. And I'm like, there's
What?
there's
Yeah.
strategy, the strategy in here that is missing.
Mhm.
That when you have the right people, when you have the right ways of working with those teams, that is, you go right for success. And then when you're like, we have to, kind of why do transformations fail? I mean, this is even before AI. If you look at the analyst reports or just the studies that are out there, you see anywhere from like 50 to 70% of transformations fail.
Yeah.
That was before all the AI.
So,
Right.
what is the litmus test for making sure that you are on strategy? I mean, you're talking about a lot of people and a lot of tools that, that ultimately meet from either top down, bottom up to that hamburger. that strategic layer. So what is that litmus test? What is the go-to approach that you've seen work really, really well within organizations, so that everyone can go about their day making sure that they are on strategy?
I think there's a couple of key principles or operating principles that I've seen, right? Which is one, dedicated initiatives around transformation. This is not someone's actual extra job, right? You have
Right.
people that are like run the business, keep the lights on, and a lot of times been there, done that. We're like, oh, on top of that, you will also do this
Right.
transformation, right? So that's very challenging when you have to do both, right? Not every company or every brand has the luxury of doing, having a separate team, but
Right.
like something, right, from here to here, something in between. The second thing is a mindset on like KPIs and outcomes.
Mm.
Times, especially with AI, especially with investment. With AI, we are in experimentation and failing fast mode. I also come from a life sciences background. So, like in the pharmaceutical world, we're all about like drug discovery, fail fast, learn, go, move fast,
Yep.
right? So, if you think about the framework that we in marketing are so used to, which is ROI and campaign investment and like what was a pipeline generated, a lot of times we know it's very easy to fall into putting the old framework. It was like, okay, so you did that AI pilot and you did this AI thing, you did this transformation like in 6 weeks. What is your ROI? I'm like, no. We're in
Yep.
experimentation mode, right? You can't put the old framework of like, these were the traditional pipes with like 1 to 10 ROI for a trade show. And then now we're going to do this new thing. And then we're going to compare it to the old. That's not the right question.
Right.
I see it all the time. Do you see it? I'm sure you see it
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time, right? And it's like, no, this is so it's what I see is like it's what I call transformational budget, which is a separate budget
Ah,
or carved out budget,
great idea.
right? That, but different from the annual planning budget that I would have to put together. This was experimentation budget, and it was a different way to go to the transformation budget to go put together business case and get money for that, which is
Yeah,
different because
it really is. It's
we
such
never,
great advice, though.
right? We don't ever ask them, what's the ROI of Outlook?
Yeah.
The ROI of Slack? That's infrastructure. So
Yeah.
this is infrastructure-ish. It's experimentation budget. And
Yeah.
so I think getting the executive leaders to see that differently, right? And then all the way down in terms of like, the people that are operating, whether it's, hey, you have to carve out time for your day from your day job to do transformation, or there's some amount of a separate team or like a business transformation office. In an ideal case, I've worked in companies where we had a business transformation office, which was amazing to do the coordination across all the different teams. In some cases, we had to just like duct tape and we had to play that role too as well. It's
Yeah.
doable, not, you gotta deal with what you're dealt with. But those are important functions that you're gonna need to play out, whether you have a separate team or not. So transformational budget, running, I like transformation is a product, not a project.
Yeah. Very, very good way of looking at that. And I can't believe that we're nearing the end of our time together today. One final question for you. For marketers who feel overwhelmed, and there are a lot of them out there behind or even a little panicked about AI right now, what's the one thing you want them to stop worrying about and the one thing they should really focus on instead?
I think one thing that you should focus on is really, really look at, just pick one thing. It could be a tiny thing.
Yeah.
It could be a tiny thing, but pick one thing, one process, one thing that you're doing right now. Don't take the shiny object of like, okay, what if I AI fire? No. Really dissect why do we do it this way?
Right.
Ask yourself, why do we do it this way? What are the assumptions that we have always had on why we do it this way? And in the lens of AI, do any of those assumptions change?
Nice.
Because when you ask that question, then you give yourself permission to redefine a process that you would have never looked at before.
Yeah.
And that gives you the seed, right? With all my plants here, that gives you the
Oh,
seed,
beautiful, by the way.
right?
Yeah.
It gives you the seed to grow into really using AI strategically.
Well, I tell you, you have furthered every single one of our listeners' mindset today, Jessica. It's been absolutely incredible. What is the best way for our audience to get in touch with you?
Oh my God, find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and believe me,
Find-
she is
yeah.
prolific when it comes to LinkedIn and writing and attending seminars and presenting and podcasting. You are incredible. We appreciate your insights so much today. If you'd like to get a hold of me, I'm Lori Sartorius Jones on LinkedIn. Jessica Kao, thank you so much for your appearance on StrategyCast.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on today's show. We hope your strategic brains are spinning with new ideas and bold inspiration that will elevate your strategies and marketing know-how.